Hi sweeties, welcome to Nanyacim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you get notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all, and I want to say a very big thank you to every one of you for always coming back to watch my videos and subscribing. You all are the great MVP. So today I have a visitor, and she is
Hello.
she is Wema. So today we will be talking about Sundown Town. And actually somebody told me about Sundown Town in the comment section. And I decided to look up for Sundown Town and check what is going on in Sundown Town. And I must tell you, it's a whole horrible thing. And the truth is that I do not believe that something like this is still happening today and 21st century. I don't know how I feel about it, but then we definitely would get into it and then come back to talk about it. So stay glued to your screen. Let me roll the clip.
I had actually never heard of it until I moved to the rural Midwest, but it is generally a city where it's not safe for non-white people to be there after dark, and it has a sign up that warns you that it's not safe to be there after dark and would generally threaten violence. Or implies the threat of violence if you are there after dark. I can't find the old sign that was up in Pekin anywhere. My ex-father-in-law paraphrased it as something like, "Welcome to Pekin, Illinois. If your skin's dark, don't get caught here after dark." But I have no way of fact-checking that paraphrasing, so I don't know. But here's some examples of what those signs look like. To have had a sign up like this until at least the late 80s is really disturbing. I mean, it's disturbing anyway, but that's pretty recent.
Look, y'all, Sundown Town still exists. And after seeing this, I'm going to go ahead and say that Morris, Illinois needs to be added to that list. Morris, Illinois is a town that's about 60 to 90 minutes away from Chicago. The population is 14,000. It's 93% white and 0.5% black. That's about 700 black folks. Recently, these little sacks were placed in driveways across the town. One of the individuals who received this was the mayor, and he ain't did nothing about it. And the messaging inside says, and I quote, "We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. White lives matter," close quote. That's textbook white supremacy. That's textbook great replacement theory rhetoric. And if you call the police, good luck with that. The county sheriff is an oath keeper, although he denies it. And this little website telegraph thing they got is just weird, y'all. I guess they have almost 14,000 subscribers, and they are a worldwide, legal, peaceful, and anonymous initiative that furthers the interests of white children through real life action. But it's like they act like the government doesn't already focus on furthering the interest of white children and white people in general. That's the purpose of this government. But anyway, y'all, just be on alert if you ever have to drive through Morris, Illinois for some reason. Oh, and shout out to the folks out there that sent this to Joe Lorenz.
Yes, Sundown Town. I've had the misfortune of running across one Sundown Town in my entire life. And as I was rolling in, it said, such and such town limits. Underneath it, it said this is a sundown town. I didn't understand what that meant. My passenger, he started freaking out. Like he was freaking out and he wanted to turn around and leave. And I didn't understand why. And then a little bit later, it came across another sign that said, N-word, do not let the sun set on your black ass or you will be swinging in the morning. I turned around and left real fast. Does that explain to you what a sundown town is?
Let's talk about this, because I am kind of getting confused about this whole Sundown Town thing. And I think now I want to ask this: does it mean that the government does not know about this Sundown Town? Because if there is a signpost saying something like that, like this is a sundown town, this place is a sundown town, the other place is a sundown town, what is the government doing about this? Because people cannot be going missing. Do you understand? People are going missing. Some are being probably when they find their body or something, they say it's probably a case of suicide when they were lynched by white people, right? And someone is telling me that nothing is happening and the government does not know about it, the police does not know about it, and nobody is saying anything. And people are going missing in Sundown Town and nobody is giving account of what happened to them and what is going on. I mean, this is giving strange, and at the same time, yeah, white supremacy kind of thing, because I do not know how people are going to be missing under the cops' watch. Do you understand? And nobody is talking about it. And it keeps happening to black people major. Yes, people keep saying people of color, mostly black people. Right? And to this very moment, there are still so many downtowns as I speak to you. It is not one, it is not two, it is not three. I think we'll still get to where there are, like, you will get to see some places that they have Sundown Town. And you know what I can say? Man, be at alert. Because there is actually a video I did, and it's about lynching that is going on in the United States. And you know, a lot of people has been going missing. And guess what? They tag them suicide. And I will keep saying this: black people rarely commit suicide. This is something I know very well. I mean, if you ever see a black person, like any suicide that got to do with a black person, it's usually like 1 out of 90. It is not common among us. And we see it as atrocity, right? And still, they are going to lynch people and they say they committed suicide, that it is a case of suicide. And I keep asking myself what is going on, because I really do not understand. Anyways, there is something I definitely want you to watch, because this is a veteran that was so scared for his life that he might be killed in Sundown Town. Let's get into it. Stay glued to your screen. So here we go.
Praise the name of the Lord thy God heavens. This is the story that I was talking about missing people. And in this story, I'm going to tell you how I was saved by a white family in Alabama. When I used to travel back and forth from Fort Hood, Texas in the 80s, back to Florida. I was in the military all through the 80s to the 90s. And I'm going to tell you how this white family had to come out and save my life. Okay, since some of y'all are oblivious to the situation and some of y'all don't believe that these things happen. Okay, now, I was on my way back to Florida on I-10. And with this story, this made me stop, running so low on gas, because I was on I-10 and I was running so low on gas that I had to stop and get gas. And this taught me a valuable lesson in this story, not to do that. So I had to get off at the next exit to go find some gas off of I-10 in Alabama. And I drove about 2 miles north looking for a gas station. And I found a gas station on the right, and I pulled in there, and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, now, of course, nobody tells us about sundown towns. We don't know. Nobody teaches us about sundown towns. We don't know nothing about sundown towns. Okay, so I pull into this gas station, and I park, and at the time, I had a real nice-looking pickup. I had a real nice-looking pickup, and so I pulled off the road into this gas station. I pulled up, and I got out, and I went inside the store, convenience store, told the guy I want to fill up. And when I walk in the store, first of all, he was looking at me like he was looking at a ghost. Like he was just standing there staring at me like he's seen a ghost. And I was trying to give him a $20 bill, and I was telling him I want to fill up, and he's just standing there staring at me. And I keep trying to give him the money, and he's just standing there. He won't take the money. And I'm just, hey, I need to fill up. And he won't take the money. He's just standing there staring at me like a ghost. So I just pushed the money toward him on the counter, and then he just kind of nodded his head at me. And I walked on out the door, and I went to the gas pump, and I seen cars coming down the road. When they saw me, they would slow way down. They were all like looking. But see, because my pickup, I had this fancy paint job on my pickup, wheels and spoilers and all that, I thought they were looking at the pickup. But no, they're looking at me because it's 2:00 in the morning and they got a young black man out here, at this late at night out and nobody's around. Looks like we're going to have to go to a part 2 on this one. 2 missing people. So I get to the pump and I turn the pump on and he has cut the pump on. So I'm playing back and forth with the pump, cutting it on, cutting it off. He hasn't turned the pump on. So I'm like, man. So I walk back to the store, I open the door and I say, hey, could you cut the pump on? And he's just standing there like looking at me. And then I'm like, hey, could you cut the pump on? Then he just nods his head, but he's still looking at me like he's seen a ghost, right? So I walk back out there and I see cars still coming down the road, on down the road. When they see me, they're slowing way down. You see people in the car, they were doing like 55 miles an hour, but as soon as they saw me, they slowed way, way down and they drove on. So I thought they was looking at my pickup, right? So I walk over there, cut the pump back on again. He still hasn't cut the pump on. So I'm playing with the pump again. So I walk back over there. I say, hey, man, could you cut the pump on? And he nods his head, yes, I cut the pump on. So I walk back out there. In the meantime, there was a car pulled off the road, and it pulled into the parking lot and stopped, made a U-turn, kind of in the dirt area beside the store and stopped with the headlights on. So I can look over there. I look over there and I see they're sitting there looking at me. It's like 4 people in the car. It looks like, one of those LTDs, 4-door. And they're like looking at me. So he finally cuts the pump on. And I notice that he's looking out the window. He's looking out the window. So I look over at the car and they're sitting over there looking at me. So I'm pumping the gas. And then the car pulls up beside me. And the woman, she said, it was a mother in the car, father, 2 teenagers, looked like maybe 15 or something in the back seat. So the woman pulls up. She said, son, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm getting some gas. And she was like, son, you got to get out of here. And I said, I got to get some gas. She said, put that pump up. She said, you got to get out of here. And I said, well, I can't go anywhere because I got to get some gas. So she tells her daughter to get out and the daughter or the son, I think it was the son. She told the son to get out and pump the gas, and she told me to get inside my pickup and crank it up and put it in gear. She said, and if they pulled up in the car a little bit. In the meantime, the father, he got out with a shotgun. He got out with a shotgun. He was standing there with a shotgun with the door open. And the woman, she says to me, okay, we're going to go to part 2 now of this story, part 2. Okay, back again, Sundown Town, part 3, okay, missing people. Okay, now before the father of the family got out with the shotgun, he had pulled the car up a little bit, so the wife or the mother was parked right beside my door, and she was talking to me as I was sitting inside my pickup. And that's when the father, he got out with the shotgun. Okay, now she told me, she said, son, you can't be out here this time of night. She said, if these people knew that you were out here this time of night, she said they will all get together in this town, and she said they will all come over here and get you, and they will all take you out in the woods, and they would kill you. And she said there will be stories going around the county, only amongst the white people, about what they did to the young black man out in the woods. Okay, so she asked me, has anybody seen me? Have any cars? I said, yeah, well, cars are coming by. And she said, well, what did they do? And I said, well, they slowed way down, but they didn't. She said, did they stop? I said, no, none of them stopped. She said, well, they probably getting the word around that you're out here. And so she said, well, we might have to take you back to our house and park your truck in the back of our house or in the garage till in the morning. And she said, in the morning, you'll be okay. And she said, state troopers and police, she said, have been known to pull over black people late at night like this, come up with some kind of reason to hold them there while they're calling their friends or their buddy to come get you. And she's like, so she told me, she said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to follow you back down to the interstate. And she said, we're going to follow you for about 15 miles to make sure that you don't get stopped. And she told me, said, well, if when we stop, If a police officer or state trooper tries to pull you over, she said, son, don't you stop. She said, you run from him till you get to the next county. She said they be known to pull over black people and hold them there while they call their buddies. She said if you ever get stopped by an officer and so a bunch of cars pull up behind him, then you need to drive off because you'll come up missing. She also told me that they've been known for one of the people to get in the person's car and drive the person's car off. That way there's no evidence of that person ever in that area. And that's the Sundown Town story.
Will be after today. Let's go. Sundown towns are places where all it takes is being black to be a crime. A sundown town is not just a place where something racist happened. They were entire communities or counties that for decades were all white on purpose. I mean, there may have been a black family or two within the limits, and of course the servants and interracial children within the households, those didn't count. And I wanted to note that some sundown towns, they also kept out Chinese Americans, Jewish individuals, Mexican Americans, Native Americans, and yes, even Mormons. And you would think that places like this only existed in the Deep South, but some of those same states that fought against slavery in the Civil War, they removed blacks from their small towns and their cities and made sure that nobody who wasn't white was able to move in. With that said, the phenomenon seems to be mainly a northern one, as relatively few sundown towns in the South have been identified. Now, the South, it had many deplorable methods for keeping blacks down, but sundown towns, that wasn't their main one. And though typically none of this is on record, you can find many widespread stories if you just start digging. Now, a census could really tell the tale, as a population may go from hundreds or thousands of black residents at one point to zero at the next, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that those people were driven out. Like in the case of Ferguson, Missouri, this was a sundown town between 1940 and 1960. However, by 2014, it was 67% black, so that just goes to show that over the years, it did begin to integrate. Around 1970 in Alex, Arkansas, they had a sign that you would see going into town that said, N-word, don't let the sun go down on you in Alex. Can you imagine that? And 2 hours south in Mena, Arkansas, a sign that advertised the town read, cool summers, mild winters, no blizzards, and no Negroes. In James Lowen's book, Sundown Towns, A Dimension of Segregation Across America, it listed 507 sundown towns in Illinois alone and thousands across America. Then you had the Negro Motorist Green Book by Victor Hugo Green, which was developed specifically to help black people find a list of places where you'd be welcome in the 1930s. One of the first recorded examples of sundown towns in America emerged during the colonial era. In 1759, His Majesty's province of New Hampshire passed a stipulation forbidding nighttime travel of non-white residents in order to prevent disorders that happened at night. And what about the brutal red summer of 1919 when an armed white mob in Corbin, Kentucky rounded up some 300 men, women, and children and then violently forced them into rail cars headed for other towns? While sundown towns were once thought to be a shameful relic of the past, some black travelers maintain that they still remain today. And while some communities wish to put their shameful past behind them, the only way to do that is by admitting their past, apologizing for it, and then vowing to never let that happen again. Sundown towns, if you're not
Oh my gosh, my friend, I am so sorry. I've been looking for your comment for like 2 days so I could reply to it so you could see this video. But for the complete list of sundown towns that I found, I have a screenshot of the website behind me where they are all listed. Keep in mind that not all of the sundown towns are on here. This is just the most complete list that I could find online. So I will show that. Here you go. And as well, I will paste the website link further up on the video in case y'all can't see this properly. But I just wanted to show y'all this.
Sundown towns in America are towns where the white people want to keep that place white on purpose. They use corrupt judges, police officers, and people in the government to disenfranchise other races from being there. Think this is a thing for the South? Think again. I'm from Long Beach, California. Let's see how many sundown towns are in my home state. White lies are...
Absolutely. This is it for the videos, but before we go, I really do have something I want to say, because all these are not hidden. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. They are not something that it's hidden. Most of the signposts are still out there with some strange informations, like if you are a stranger, blah, 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 blah. And nothing is happening. Nobody is being held accountable for all that. And I still want to ask what is going on, or for how long is this gonna keep happening? Because like people are going missing and they are probably not giving accountability, like there is no accountability for them. You heard what the other man said, how he almost like, if let's assume the white people, like those people did not help him, you know, that would have been the end of that man. Definitely the end of that man. But I guess God was by his side. If not, it would have been a different story altogether. And the more we continue to keep quiet, the more people are missing. It could be your loved ones, it could be your brother, it could be your sister, it could be someone you know, someone very close to you. And someone is still going to tell me in the comment section that all this happened long time ago, that it is no longer happening now. Who told you it is no longer happening now? Who told you it is no longer happening now? All these are still happening. And what is the way out? This is what I want to know. White people, what is the way out? You all can't keep waking up to kill people, slaughter people like they are animals. They are not animals, of course. Anyways, let me know what you all think. And do you have something you want to say?
I remember on Netflix there's a movie with Queen Latifah.
Okay.
It's a very new movie. I didn't. So they were showing how she was moving from one city to the next. Okay.
Okay.
And then there were certain cities she was like pointing at the movie like, no, this is not safe and you can't go there. And she had 2 teenagers and with a brother. And then when she was passing by some city, they were like, they shouldn't stop. These 2 white men came out from a car and they were coming down with an axes. They told her to kneel down. They were embarrassing her. You know, they were like following her, stopping her, hooting on her. You know, it was like kind of uncomfortable. Okay, I didn't know that it was that deep. There was something
Connection to the
exact. It was just like I saw it in the movie and I was like, okay, this is really happening. And you could see how depressed and she was. And in the movie, it was more like highlighted that no matter what happens, even if the other people are wrong, she has to apologize. She has to act like it's okay, like to not fight back. Because if anything happens, if she fights back, she will be the one killed. And she was busy telling the brother, like, this is what happens. And you know what's happening in our community. You know what's going on. And I just watched the scene. And then with these videos today, just kind of like connected, like, this was what it meant at that time. I didn't get it, you know, because I don't really know the culture that's going on there. And
so now it makes more sense to you now.
A lot of sense. Like, it's just crazy. And this is a very new movie, so it shows like there's a way other people are still trying to bring awareness to that, but then I don't really know what's happening, how that is going to come to an end, or I don't know. Is there anything that they're doing? I don't know about that.
How would they do something? This is, if they are supposed to do something, this is something they should have been fighting for a very long time, because it has been going on for a very long time. Until this very moment, nothing has happened. And a lot of Black people has been killed. Some they tag them suicide and all that, which they all knew what is going on. Anyways, this is where we're going to call it a day. And let me know what you all think in the comment section. I really do appreciate you all. See you all in my next video. Bye. For now.